Here we are on time and definitely under budget. Thanks for joining us, everyone, for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios and brought to you by AskSSL.ai. I'm Bob Woods. Stan Robinson is out today, but Bryn Tillman is here. How you doing, Bryn?
I'm great, Bob. How are you?
I am doing well and very excited to talk about what we're going to be talking about today.
That makes two of us.
So let's get this show on the road, as they say. So, if you're a sales management type, like a CFO, a VP, director of sales, even a sales manager, like that type of thing, and you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator within your organization, you know that your sales team should be using it. Emphasis is on the word should there because they may not be, or they're just, not. That's why we're going to be laser focused on Sales Navigator today and helping those sales leaders increase adoption of this highly valuable tool. And it is a very valuable tool, right, Bryn?
Yes, Bob, it is. And I am excited to talk about the adoption side of things because we're out talking with these sales teams and their idea of adoption is, hey, I'm logging in or my folks are logging in and they're in it every day. That to them is adoption. And we need to really talk about what real adoption is. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, I am too. There's adoption and then there's use, and those are two entirely different things. So with this episode, we're giving away our actual sales leaders ultimate guide to Sales Navigator adoption. It's at socialsaleslink.com/sales navigator. You see the address at the bottom of your screen. At the upper left of the screen, if you scan that QR code, that will also take you directly to the place where you can download it as well. So the guide itself goes way beyond our discussion today. It has things like setting up Sales Navigator, personas, saving searches, and other topics that between you and me are just death to talk about on a podcast. But
but
I strongly suggest in all seriousness that you download and check it out. Again, it's at socialsaleslink.com/sales navigator. We made that easy for you as well. So today we're going to do things slightly different. We're going to Q&A with different topics involving Sales Nav. So with that, let's get right into the first topic about something that Bryn has already alluded to, because as she said, many sales leaders think Sales Navigator adoption just means turning on the licenses and, handing them out aliasen free, and just whatever happens, happens. Bryn, what's the first major shift a sales leader really needs to do to ensure real adoption?
Oh, I love the first major shift. I have like 400, but I think the first one is, okay. I think the first major thing we have to look at are KPIs. So are we measuring the right activity? Because here's the thing, the activity that we might be measuring are our sales reps logging in? Are they on it? How many searches have they saved? How many leads have they saved? But are those the activities that are actually getting the trust-based conversations that typically is the goal of Sales Navigator? So just really clearly, the goal of Sales Navigator is not to sell. It's to open the door. It's to engage with the right people and start those trust-based conversations. So if we don't have the right KPIs in place, then we're managing, to activities that may not actually ever get to our goal, which are the conversations. So I would say that I have a huge list, but I would say the KPIs are the first thing, because the KPIs are ultimately what our reps will work toward.
Yep. And I think a big part of that, just me personally, is that a lot of sales leaders don't really recognize how important the KPIs that they should be measuring are, because they don't they don't know Sales Navigator themselves.
Well, that's true. So, yeah, talk a little bit about how it's important for those leaders to actually do the work. You could.
Yeah, I mean, because when it comes to Sales Navigator and especially leadership's role, they really should know what is being not only what is being measured, but just how to use it in general so that they know the importance of what is being measured. And the other big topic for that with me is if the sales force sees the sales leaders using it and using it effectively, using it how it should be, they will then know how important it is for them to use it. And plus, they may pick up tips from the sales leadership that's like, oh, I didn't even know I can do that. And my boss knows how to do that. Maybe I should learn how to do that. I mean,
Yeah, no, I love that, and
yeah.
I'm gonna kind of yes and that.
Hmm.
There are a lot of our clients where they don't actually give full licenses to the sales leaders. They're
Yeah,
giving them admin, the ability to pull reports, but they're not giving them the full access. And I do agree with you, Bob, that the sales leaders need to have their own license. They need to be working in Sales Navigator. And one of the amazing features of Sales Navigator is the ability to share lists. Like Bob, Stan, and I, if we're working on a campaign, we'll have a list that we have shared with each
hmm,
other. And so we can see the activity. So your reps should be sharing their lists with you as the sales manager. And you can coach to a lot of that content. So I do not only agree with you, Bob, but realize that that is one of the big gaps that we're seeing out there is that the sales leaders don't even have their own uh, account.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's a good
And
call.
just like so many other things at companies, it really is a top down type of thing. I mean, no matter what you're doing, it should be top down. And Sales Navigator is definitely one of those things because if you're not using it as a sales leader, like I said before, A, you don't understand what's going on. B, you're not setting a good example.
Cool. All right. What's next on our list,
Cool.
my friend?
Yeah, so next comes to sales tools and the sales stack. And sales reps hear sales stack and they're like, oh my God, what else are we going to have in here? So, I mean, you know, when reps say they already have their own processes and they're resisting these new tools, what can and should leaders do to overcome that resistance to drive adoption? Because we both know that whenever new tools introduced, everybody's just rolling their eyes and just like, how do I
Yeah.
get out of this?
So I love that question. And when we have kind of the 8 stages of rolling out a social selling program, and one of them really is taking inventory of the tool stack. What I will say is the most important thing you can do is naturally integrate it into their day. A mistake I see a lot of sales leaders make, first of all, is to say, okay, you're going to carve out an hour a day to work in Sales Navigator.
Mhm,
That does not work, right? It
mhm.
needs to be part of their calling routine, their email routine, their CRM routine, right? So it needs to be completely integrated. If you guys have Sales Loft or Gong, part of the cadence is the LinkedIn activity. So here, I'll just say for kind of the record, in 1992, when I was working at Dun& and Bradstreet, they rolled out email. It was actually called CC mail. It was like internal.
I
And
remember
I
that.
sat in Marianne's office, my boss, and I said to her, "How do you expect me to work this into my day? I am so busy selling. You want me to do this email thing?" Now imagine our life without email right now. You can't. It just doesn't happen. That's how LinkedIn and Sales Navigator kind of needs to be part of that routine. It needs to be part of um, the ultimate, like part of the daily process where you're going to call a client, that company page is up, you're looking at account IQ and sales IQ, you've got some pre-call planning going. Like you should never get on a call without having done that. But that automatically will get us into a routine where that just becomes as natural to us as email.
Yeah. Could not agree more with that. So, I mean, it's another tool, but it's a vital tool. I always talk about or I used to. It's been a while since I brought this up, the sales tool belt, and how there are like all kinds of potential tools on there. But there are some really basic ones that every sales tool belt should have, just like a hammer in a carpenter's tool belt or something like that. Now, don't think
I'd
of
love to
sales.
list a few that I think are critical.
Yeah,
So,
no, please do.
yeah. So LinkedIn, obviously we believe Sales Navigator, but at least LinkedIn, email, your CRM, and a calendar link. This is something a lot of companies still don't have. But I
Yeah.
would say the biggest conversion tool that I have, other than LinkedIn, is my calendar link. Every salesperson needs to have that. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, that's great. So with that, let's move on to mindset, because mindset is something that we talk about here at Social Sales Link for just a bunch of different things. And being in the social selling mindset, stop talking about how you help people and just help people, and all of these other
Mhm.
phrases that if you're a regular listener of ours, hopefully they are nailed into your brain just as much as they're nailed into ours. So, LinkedIn brought out this deep sales mindset, which I think is really, really interesting. What role does that mindset play in making Sales Navigator successful within a sales org?
So deep sales was actually built around a study, which is really cool. But
Mhm.
I would say the highest level, and there's an ebook somewhere out there. If you do Sales Navigator Deep Sales, it's worth checking out. It's probably a year old now, maybe a little longer. But deep sales is about research before outreach. It's about understanding the client and the prospect. It's about leveraging data to start trust-based conversations. It's not a smile and dial. It's the opposite of smile and dial, right? It's about slowing down your outreach to speed up your outcome. The deep sales side is really about being very selective. It's not a numbers game. It's a value insight relationship game. And so the mindset is not how many new connections can I make in a week? It's really how many conversations can I have with the right people in a week around content that matters to them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's actually going to steer us right back into KPIs. So, you mentioned conversations as a potential track rather than, counting searches, save leads, in mails sent, and things like that. What are and if you listed the specifics before, I apologize. And it's probably good to bring them up again just in case. But what KPIs should be tracked in the Sales Navigator deep sale kind of way and thinking and mindset?
Yeah, and a lot of this is making sure that your CRM is connected and that the right sources are being tracked. But for me, and I will say, when we work with a client, we'll customize their KPIs and their Sales Navigator and what that's going to look like in their CRM. But at a top level, the simplest one to track is how many new first degree connections that meet your ICP. So I do a search today. I have 71. We have a one-on-one next week. I look at that search. I have 75. I know I have 4 new ones. Now, I don't want huge volume, but I want to look at that we are connecting,
Mhm.
right? So if I have 150, that's a red flag. That is not a good KPI. The KPI is not how many. The KPI is that we are growing at the right pace, that we can have conversations. That's the right KPI. So this is not like who has the most wins. It's who has. So that's the second KPI, is how many of those new first degree connections turned into a conversation. That's an important KPI. Another one we can look at is how many introductions or permission to name drop opportunities did we have this week? So, for example, I see Bob knows 10 or 15 people that I want to meet. I reach out to him, he makes 1 or 2 introductions, and I start conversations with 5 or 6 more of those folks. Those are KPIs that matter because I came in from a trusted source. I'm coming in with credibility. There are a few others that we could talk about, but it really depends on the goals of the company. Because one of them, let's say one of the goals is we want to start conversations with people in new jobs. So we can then, how many people that meet your ICP have a new job that you have now done this next step with, right? So there are so many that we can do. The goal is that the KPIs that we put in place directly translate into the activity that creates the conversation.
Yeah. Speaking of activity, we all know that Sales Navigator has a lot of features. I always used to call it LinkedIn on steroids. It's even I don't know what is like even above steroids at this point, but that's Sales Navigator basically. How can how can sales leaders actually simplify the tool so that their people are actually using the parts that matter the most? Because not every single feature in Sales Navigator is going to be used by every single person.
Yeah, and we just did this for a client. We customized a playbook for them, right? So what does that look like? We have to look at it again. What is the goal? So where do we start? What are we trying to achieve? What's the challenge we're trying to solve? What's the content we have? What's the the ICP, and what is the campaign? So there are hundreds, well, dozens of campaigns, right? And we want to customize those for the ultimate goal that we're looking to achieve. So, for example, if we were going to do a prospect by poll, our KPI might be how many people did we invite to. Wait, what was the question? Am I answering the right question? The
Yeah,
KPI,
you are.
the KPI.
Narrowing down all of the tools into the ones that salespeople will use the most.
So it's not the tool as much as the
The
campaign.
features, I mean. Features, I mean.
Yeah.
Sales
So
nav. Yeah, I
so
see
if
that.
it's a prospect by poll, right? First of all, do I have the playbook with the step by step and the screenshots and the things so I can set up a poll easily? Do I have the AI prompt so that my poll is aligned with the company voice? Do I have the step by step to invite people to vote on the poll, then how to convert them from voted to either offering additional piece of content or asking for an interview or whatever our goal is, right? So we've got to get that playbook. So what salespeople need, they can do all the training in the world, and we're trainers, so we know that. So we could do all the training in the world, and 5 to 10% of it will get implemented. But when they have a playbook, when they have the step-by-step guide, and when it's custom to them. I mean, a lot of our clients, because of budget, end up with a generic playbook, which is fine. It does a good job. But we just customize an incredible playbook for a client. And the adoption will be so huge because it's a no-brainer. It's so simple. And it is aligning with their daily process. It's not set aside 30 minutes 3 times a day. It's integrated into their daily work.
And I think that's a big part of the puzzle because if they see a new tool and they see that as extra, and then the work that they have to do behind it is also extra, it ain't gonna be implemented.
You're right.
Whereas if it's into the flow of what they're already doing, there's a much, much higher adoption rate, I would guess.
I love it. We've got lots of people on live. I would love to know in chat if you guys, and if you're listening in on the podcast, you could certainly drop us a note. But I would love to know if you guys have Sales Navigator, because right now live we've got 17 people on 18 people
8 people on
live in
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, and we have one or two that keep changing over at YouTube. But let us know in chat. Yes, so I have Sales Nav or I don't have Sales Nav.
That'd
Just
be interesting
curious.
to see.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see. And speaking of things like that, just want to remind you again to download our Sales Leaders Ultimate Guide to Sales Navigator Adoption at socialsaleslink.com/Sales Navigator. You can see the information on the screen. And if you are listening via the podcast, we will have that link in show notes. So next question. Um, and I know that I've been a victim of this back when I've had like actual sales jobs and everything else, as opposed to the fun that I have nowadays. Even after training, some reps, and it's probably more than some reps, they fall back into old habits. What can sales leaders do to keep engagement and adoption with Sales Navigator strong over time?
So there's a lot, right? So we can, first of all, the playbook that really helps. Number two, I think it's really important to consistently have, well, your KPIs, but consistently coach to the right activity. Like, so your one-on-ones, there's a consistency in the conversation you're having every single week. If one week we talk about, one week we're talking about, how many new connections did you make and how many conversations do you have? And then for 3 weeks, we don't talk about it again. It loses its priority. So having really a checklist of in your one-on-ones will really help. Gamification can help.
Yes.
We used to use the SSI score, not great anymore.
Yeah.
But gamification could be a really big opportunity to keep engagement going. Celebrating wins, celebrating wins. I don't know. You got any that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so actually, you just put up the comment that I wanted to zero in on too. So Bradford Bills says, yes, I have Sales Navigator and really don't know how to use it well. It generates far too much noise on its own.
Okay.
I teed that one up for you, Bryn.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, Bradford Mills is an old friend, so let's have a conversation for sure. But let's just talk about what needs to happen. Number one, the filters on Sales Navigator should reduce the noise, even with content, right? We want to make sure that we're saving the right people and we're looking at the right content that we want to engage on. But when you learn how to filter your homepage so that it's just lead shares, that means people you've saved and the content that they've shared, all of a sudden it's not noise. It should be 90% actionable. If it's not, unsave them. If it's someone that you don't want to engage with, then they shouldn't be a saved lead, right? Then you can do job changes for all your ICP. And so when you can segregate your list out based on engagement, job change, whatever it might be, now we can go to market with a message that's in the same vein for all of them. So it's semi-customized. It's not, you don't have to absolutely customize every single message. It's really personalizing because they're all in the same place. So Sales Navigator should not be, it should not be noise. Like LinkedIn.com is noise. Yes. Sales Navigator should help you to filter so that you're only seeing what you want to see. So we also have, let's see.
I think that the next one's actually the more one there. So I know. Actually, let's go back to that one because I think I know what he's saying. So Sayed's saying, do we have a retail version? And I believe that is a retail version
Ah,
or Sales Navigator. So there is Sales Navigator Core, probably the closest to a retail version
yep.
that's out there. Then there's also Advanced and Advanced Plus. The Advanced and Advanced Plus are definitely more for sales organizations. The
Not
when
advanced.
it comes to
Advanced
retail,
plus is.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Advanced, you can. So I this is newer. Not advanced. An individual can have advanced now,
Advanced, yes, that's true.
so they can. So I actually recommend it if you're going to pay a little more because you get smart links, and I
Yeah,
love smart links. So I didn't mean to contradict you, but I just want to say,
yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. No, that's a fine yet important distinction to make. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you could finish your thought without me
Yeah.
interrupting.
So, well, actually, I do want to move on to one more thing because it's adjacent but important. Why is SSI not as relevant as it used to be? We could go for days about that, just as
So
is.
high level, it's not measuring the right activity
Right.
that drives the right outcome. Next level down, I don't think it's accurate. And I think, like, for me, it'll say that, like, that I'm not providing enough insights. So
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Very few people provide more insight. So
Yeah.
I just don't think it's measuring the right the right things, and that drive the right. And I think that LinkedIn is ignoring it. I think there's no one behind the scenes that are consistently updating it so that it is relevant.
Yep. And then one more, the tool is useful, however, it's expensive. Agreed.
Well, so I'm going to say though, my
Yeah.
you know, I would pay my Sales Navigator bill before my electric bill because my Sales Navigator pays my electric.
Right.
It's
Yep.
kind of like it needs to be an investment, not an expense. If it's an expense, you're not using it to its capacity.
Right. But you need to use it to its capacity because otherwise you will see it as an expense.
Correct.
And yeah, I think that that's absolutely crucial there. So with that, let's go to the book one more time. The moment that I find the caption for it again. Where is it? There it is. socialsaleslink.com/sales navigator. If you are listening via the podcast, meaning this is recorded, we will have that in the show notes. So, unless there's anything else, we're just about at the top of the hour. So, I think we're going to go and take it home. Bryn, what do you think?
I think we just barely scratched the surface, and we're going to have
We did.
to.
That's the thing too, which is why honestly the guide will definitely help you a lot more as a springboard off of this conversation.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we normally don't like, urge people to do it. This one's really going to help you. This
yeah,
one is really going to help you if you are a sales leader and you're in that situation where people aren't using Sales Navigator, or even if you're just a salesperson or I shouldn't say just, if you're a salesperson, you're like, I wonder what this can do. This guide will definitely help you start thinking about different ways to use Sales Navigator that could benefit you greatly.
awesome. All right, let's take it in for a landing, my
Here
friend.
we go. Here we go. We've got clearance from the tower and we are about ready to land. So, whether you have been with us live or recorded via our podcast, thanks for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live. Join us because we're here usually every week, unless there's a holiday involved or something like that.
Well, then
If
we're
you're
here,
listening,
but we're on recording.
yeah, exactly. If you're listening to us on our podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our new content. Get our old shows, which are just as important as this one, if I do say so myself. Besides these LinkedIn Lives, we also interview leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. So be sure to catch those episodes as well. So when you are out and about this week and every week, be sure that you are making your sales
Social. I did
Thanks,
it without
everyone.
any trouble.
Yeah, you did. That was perfect. Thanks, everybody.